All right, hey, welcome everyone to season 1, episode 2, technically, of Scott and Tracey's Home Cooking. Today we are going to do a romantic dinner for 2. And this is kind of a, I like to say a guy's version in the sense that it's easy to make. But of course, like every meal, we got to start with what?
Oh, cocktails.
Cocktails. So what we decided to do today, we're going to start with an old-fashioned that is made, believe it or not, with cognac, rum, and whiskey. You're going to want to get typically a rye whiskey is what they used at the restaurant. This is a, what is this one? This is the
Suburban whiskey.
Suburban. Then this is Woodinville, made in a distillery in Woodinville. Again, we like to try to use local distilleries and breweries in our videos. You're going to also want to get an aged golden rum and a good cognac and a VSOP. We're using just, but regular ice is fine. It just tends to water down a little faster. So if you can get an artisan ice, it just really keeps that flavor for a longer period of time.
Cube.
We are going to make our old-fashioned a little bit more the traditional way, but I didn't use sugar. Often you'll have a sugar cube that you'll use. I actually made some simple syrup. And they call it simple syrup because it's
super simple. Yeah,
it's literally 50% sugar, 50% hot water. And for me, all I did was, so I put a cup of sugar and a cup of water in here, hot water, put the lid on and shook it until it diluted, then put it in the fridge to chill, and now I've got simple syrup anytime I need it. So in this one, it calls for a scant of a teaspoon. We're trying to figure...
We Googled it.
Google it. Scant is... Barely, but if you want more, put more. If you like it sweet. If you don't like it sweet, just put less. Perfect. So there's our scant. Okay. This recipe actually calls for both orange and for the aromatic bitters. Bitters, again, is kind of to taste. It's what you like. I'm more of the orange bitters. I like a little bit better, but for this drink. So it's just going to be a couple dashes of orange. Dashes of the aromatic, 3/4 ounces of whiskey, which you know how we pour, so 3/4 ounces
more like 2
is more like 1 and some more. Half an ounce of the aged golden rum, and also half an ounce of cognac. Again, with an artisan ice, it's not going to melt down as quick, but you do want to kind of give this a little bit of a stir. You want it to get nice and cold.
Plus it's pretty warm in here.
I like to chill my glasses, so typically my glasses would be in the freezer before I use them. You got to have a garnish.
Are you going to use a cheese slicer?
Now, I use a cheese slicer because it actually does a great job.
Oh, snap. Look at that.
And it's easier, and I give it a little twist, and I like to... rub the rim with the oils, just to give it a little bit more of a flavor as you're taking a drink. And there you have Scott's version of old fashioned.
Smells wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh.
Mm.
That's pretty good.
That's delicious. That's delicious.
This one I'm finishing.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, this will lube us up good. So we are on the best part, I would like to think, is the dessert.
We're going to make creme brulee today. And this is a reduced recipe down to 2 servings. However, the original recipes normally are for 4 cups, or 4 servings. You can
but this is a romantic meal, so
yeah,
I doubt we're serving 4.
Well, then again, if you have kids,
well, that's true.
That's true. But anyway, so it can easily be doubled and tripled and whatnot. It's a pretty easy recipe to follow. But first, we're going to start out with half a cup of granulated sugar in the bowl.
Already in.
And then we're going to do a yolk.
So just the yolks?
Just the yolks.
Oh, let's see how skilled you are with the...
Oh, come on.
the baker extraordinaire.
We're going to go ahead and whisk it with the sugar. And you're going to keep stirring until the egg and the sugar are combined. You'll actually hear it in your ear if you're using a metal bowl especially.
That roughness?
You'll hear the roughness decrease as it starts to absorb into the egg. And then only that, you'll want to check with threading, you know, well, actually it's called ribboning.
Ribboning?
Is it ribboning? It's still pretty rough. So you're going to keep doing this until it's nice and fluffy, smooth. And this is actually a homemade vanilla that one of my daughter-in-laws made for me for Christmas. So as I understand it, it's 5 food-grade vanilla beans. You split them in half, and I believe you run a knife through them.
You scrape them. Yeah.
Yep, and you want to make sure all the goodies stay in it. This is about, what did she say, 8 to 10 ounces of vodka.
Vodka.
And you just stick it in and start letting it seep. And I think she
Is that really what
it's in here? Yeah. It started.
See, now keeping to the theme of Scott and Tracey's home cooking.
Thank you, Catherine.
We always have a little bit of alcohol in
But yeah,
there.
you can see the little beans popping out. But I think she told me she started this back in the fall.
Oh my gosh, that smells amazing.
And all you have to do, according to the recipe, is continuously add the vodka, and it will incorporate. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons. What we're going to do now is called tempering the egg yolk.
That's where you go slowly.
A little bit at a time. So I want to make sure it's exactly the way I want. See how it's kind of
staying together.
Yeah, it's a little thicker. So we're going to add, can you hold the bowl for me?
I
Because
certainly
normally I do
can.
this on a rubber pad.
Don't burn
So
me.
we're going to add just a little bit of milk, cream. You're just going to whisk it nice and hard.
And that was, when she says a little, that was about an ounce.
Yeah, it's a couple maybe a couple tablespoons
Yeah.
at a time. So then we're going to take, how do you pronounce these?
Well, the ramekins.
Ramekins.
Most
It's a
ramekins
custard
I've
dish.
used are small, but the custard dishes are much larger.
So these are about, I would say about 6 ounce dish.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, so this one, and it's going to be foamy because I just used a whisk, so it's going to look like, oh my god, it's going to overflow, but I assure you it will not. So, okay, so the next thing you're going to need is you're going to need a deep baking dish because you're going to do a water bath with this. And we are using pre-boiled water. I'm just going to pour a little bit in the bottom at first because you never know when you're going to get sloppy. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to set these inside. You're going to bring the water up about halfway of the dish.
Of the dish? Okay.
The oven has been preset at 350 degrees. And we're going to put that in for about 50 minutes.
Okay. And which rack? In the middle?
In the middle.
Middle rack?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're going to go about 50 minutes in the water bath. At 50 minutes, then you're going to shut the oven off. You're going to crack the door, and you're going to leave it in for another 30 minutes. So after your 30 minutes of being in the oven, go ahead and take it out. Be very careful. These things are hot. These have been chilled. These have been in the refrigerator overnight, but it takes about a minimum of 3 hours, and you'll see it set. And at first, it's gonna jiggle a little bit. That's why I'm saying testing it with a clean knife is usually the best way to do it. But the problem is that when they're still not set, it can come out not clean, and then you're panicking. Like when I first started baking.
What do you mean clean? That's just
the custard's
the
still
custard
stuck
isn't
to
going to
it.
be wet and
Yeah,
stuck
like
to the
a
knife.
cake. If you've ever baked
Okay.
a cake and done a toothpick test, you'll notice that
Well, this
clean
again,
is the way it needs to be.
this dinner is for those of us that aren't experts, so that's
So,
why.
50 minutes, take it out, trust yourself. 50 minutes, 30 minutes rest, take it out, pull them out. They go in the refrigerator. I would highly suggest leaving them in there for at least 3 hours minimum.
So maybe, guys, this is a smart thing to do the day before
Do it
the
the
big
day
date
before.
with the loved one.
Yeah.
That
way you're not pressured
Yeah.
to get it done either.
Yeah, and if it ends up not ready, that'll
Yep. So here you're going to put 1 tablespoon. I like a lot of sugar, so 1 tablespoon each on each topping, and then you're going to move it around like Scott's doing there. 2 ways you can do this. One you can do it the broiler. Then you obviously raise your axe up, get your broiler going, but you have got to keep a keen eye on this because it will go black and burn like in a snap. So anyways, so we went out and bought a new MAP gas.
Now you probably have seen this if you watch any cooking shows. It's usually a small little torch gun that they use on this, but you went super industrial.
And let me tell you why. 2 reasons. I have people in my household that do a lot of things that involve, bigger tools. Secondly, this is way cheaper. If you buy one of those little guns, you have to buy the replacement cartridges every time you use it.
So it's much more expensive.
And you blow through
so
them.
How much is something like this?
I believe the whole thing costs $35.
Oh yeah, because I looked up those guys. They're like 60.
Yeah.
With
so
the
MAP gas, they carry them at the local Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever you want to get. MAP gas is better in my opinion than propane. The flavor, you want to be careful.
MAP gas.
MAP gas.
Okay.
It burns hot. It's great for crafts too, by the way. But anyways, we bought a nozzle. You can also buy one that you just turn on, then you have to have the little starter.
Right.
But this is an automatic starter. So we turn it on, like yay, just a little bit. You can hear it. And then you snap the starter.
Don't aim that at me.
And then we just turn it down a little bit until you find what you want. And then just keep the flame moving.
Look at that. Caramelizing.
Caramelizing the sugar.
That's always the best part of the creme brulee,
so
is just
cool.
snapping that
the sugar
after it's hardened.
God, that's fun. God, that's fun.
God, that's fun.
Oh God, she has fire. Watch out, everybody.
Anyways, so here you go. This is beautiful. Put it back in the refrigerator for a little while. Let it cool because you got to know that this just heated up. Honestly, it will keep like this for a couple days in the refrigerator.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, it is an egg product, so make sure that you do eat it within about 3 days maximum, or you're going to have a bellyache. So, creme brulee.
All right. So now it's time, like we said, to get to the steak.
But first,
the main dish, and much like what we do here with the recipes and kind of giving you the guidelines, we want to talk just a moment about being a home buyer, and it's kind of like having the right recipe, and in
the market we're in right now, the right recipe is crucial to landing a
I think
home.
more than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, even when the economy crashed, this is such a different market.
It is.
Because in order to get a house, it really takes the expertise of a professional broker. So if it's not us, you got to have the right broker to make sure you have an opportunity to get the house, because you're going to be fighting what? 2, 3, 10, 12, 13 people? You never know.
Wrote an offer yesterday afternoon, and we're still waiting today to find out whether or not our offer has been accepted. And at that time, there was already 4 offers in. So 5 and potentially more offers are going to be reviewed this evening on a house we wrote up. So crossing our fingers.
It's we're going to be real. It's tough.
It is tough.
And we have had some buyers who've just gotten fatigued and exhausted.
We've gotten fatigued.
Yeah, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of losing. But for those that stick with it, eventually you're going to get the home and you're going to love the home. But you kind of got to be ready and prepared. So tell us a little bit more about being prepared.
So being prepared. So we, as like in our last episode, we have a guide selling, a guide to selling that the company Windermere puts out for us. We use it this is kind of a cushy piece for you to take a look at first to get you comfortable with the idea of how the process works. But we're going to be a little bit more gritty about what really needs to be done. So compared to when I came in the business almost just shy of 20 years ago now, our buyers were not as educated as they are now. Now our buyers are extremely educated, and I would like to thank the internet for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're educated really well, and sometimes they're miseducated.
Or educated too much.
Yeah, where I'm like, I think this guy knows more than me, which that's not right. So anyways.
But surprise, surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So in a nutshell, though, the first thing you always need to do is you need, give us a call. If you're thinking about doing it, give us a call. We have a handful of different reputable mortgage lenders that we've worked with over the years. Not everybody's going to fit you.
And that's actually really, 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 really important.
It is the first step.
It is that we'd like to talk to you and sit down with you and discuss the steps, but get you into talking to a mortgage lender, that whether it be someone we know or someone you know.
Yeah.
But really understanding that relationship between the mortgage lender and us
it's crucial.
Is so crucial when it comes to these multiple offers, because that seller and that selling agent, or the listing agent in this case, wants to know that we have a good communication and know that we can get this loan closed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to go with the other people, and the people that have a local lender, not someone from out of state, and that you've worked with before and closed a number of loans with. Mm-hmm. So that whole symbiotic relationship is super important.
It is important.
And it's kind of like cooking. You got to do it all in different stages to come out with the right dish. So how many cooking metaphors? I'm going to just get as many as I can in there. So
that first step is sitting down with the lender, and it's not just a pre-qualification where you plug in a couple numbers and a guesstimate of what it is that you owe and what you make, but it's actually a breakdown of showing documentation. And once you get your documentation in and you go through what's called a pre-underwriting or underwriting situation, you will be approved. And that is really honestly where Scott and I want you, because then we're really just looking for a house.
Rather than trying to catch up.
Yeah, and like suddenly, oh my God, we found the house and we have, and right now we're looking at reviews anywhere from 4 to 5 day review periods. And I'm seeing more and more, I don't know about you, but more and more are actually starting to go back to the old seller reviews upon receipt. So you got to have it. You got to have it ready.
And we can get more in depth into that stuff. We won't want to do this during the cooking segment.
Yep.
But this guide does have quite a bit of information, the steps that you take through closing and just kind of understanding some of the stuff that we just discussed. So if you want one of these, give us a shout in the comments or shoot us an email, a text, what have you. Our information's on the YouTube channel. So let us chat with you. Again, let's have coffee, even if you're not ready to buy. Even if it's a year, 2, 3 years down the road, we can help you get prepared and understand where you... My daughter's 19. She has already figured out she'll be prepared to buy a house by next year because I've helped her kind of prepare for that. And you did that for your kids.
3 of my kids own
and we do
already.
It for a lot of our clients. So give us a shout. But let's get to steak. So this meal is going to... I call this my Trader Joe's easy, simple, romantic steak dinner. And the flavor is fantastic. It really, really is. It's kind of hard to go wrong with it as long as you're cooking it to the right temperature. I am a ribeye fan.
Oh, big time.
You know, and
it's
I
my
know,
favorite cut.
I know a lot of you are thinking, well, filet mignon, romantic. Filet mignon is tender, but it has very little flavor. You have to bring a lot of fat into it because it's very, very lean. Ribeye, the beauty about ribeye is that you're looking for the marbleization within the steak, and that's where you're going to get a lot of that flavor. And this is always, to me, the best steak. So on this one, it's just kind of really simple. I just grabbed it, like I said, from Trader Joe's. Ribeye, shout out to Trader Joe's. Love you guys. A lot of my meals are made from Trader Joe's because they just really make it easy for you to put things together. But you just want to simply salt and pepper both sides of the steak ahead of time.
Actually Himalayan pink salt.
Yeah. Now this is Costco, Kirkland, another place, you know, that I love.
Started here in Washington State.
Yeah. So I'm going to do that to both sides of the steak. Is take your steak out, get it out of the refrigerator. And you want to get it out of the refrigerator about an hour before you're going to cook. You want that to get a little closer to room temperature.
Always.
Because if you don't, it's hard to render that fat, which is rendering is melting the fat. So if you've ever cooked a steak that's cold, you've noticed that you still have kind of hard white, and that's because it's too cold.
Yeah.
So you want to get it to room temperature.
So anytime you do any type of barbecuing or steak or whatnot, you do that. It's not just that, so it's actually, so you get actually a clean, even cook.
Yeah.
If it's too cold, you won't get the right,
it definitely helps.
Wellness or non-wellness or rare or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yep.
First and foremost is you're going to get your pan. This is all a pan sear. So you're going to get your pan nice and hot. What you want to do is you want to kind of see it. You're not going to be able to see it on camera, but you're going to kind of see it slightly smoke. That's when you know the pan is ready. You do not want to put your oil in first and heat it up. You put it in when you're ready to cook. Otherwise, it'll scorch the oil and give it kind of an acidic flavor.
It wrecks your pans.
Well, and yeah, it doesn't do good for your pans either. So this is a seasoning that I kind of put together.
So what's in this?
What's in it? Well, what this is so I went out and bought bottles. So you parsley, rosemary, sage, thyme, and lemon pepper. Now the lemon pepper, and what I did is a whole jar, and I took them all and I put them into my Vitamix blender. But the lemon pepper was half a jar because it's much more condensed.
So
about half a jar of the lemon pepper, but the whole jar of all the other things I just mentioned.
Equal parts?
Equal parts.
Okay.
Whatever the jar is. Now, guys, it's very confusing.
I see
some of them will say 2 ounces, some will say 0.75, some will say 1 because it's how condensed it is. Don't overthink it. Just throw all those together. I blend them together, and then it makes kind of a powdered kind of type thing.
Okay.
And this is what I literally use this for every protein, and I promise you, it's amazing. And I got this recipe originally when I made a turkey my first time, and now I've just kind of incorporated it into everything. But if you don't want to go out and do all that, salt, pepper, garlic, that still is a fantastic steak with butter. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your oil. Now you want to use a high heat oil. I actually like to use avocado oil.
Okay.
but you can use olive oil, you can use different oils, it's kind of whatever you like. And you're going to get just enough to kind of get the pan
Maybe a
going.
tablespoon.
About a tablespoon, but that gets kind of hot. But now this is the part you guys got to be really careful when you're doing this, because it will make a lot of splatter. But always, as you're putting the steak in, put it away from you as you do it. So if it flats, it doesn't splat at you. And that's very much an important factor. So now on this steak, is what you want to do is you want to cook it about 1 minute each time you flip it. So I just like to hit a stopwatch. Now I know we probably did about 20 seconds of talking there. So you want to make sure that about every minute, so we're at a minute now, we're going to flip that, if I can get a hold of it. Come on. Sometimes easier said than done. And I'm going to do that for about a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this technically 4 times. So it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then on the 4th minute is when we start adding all of our butter, the seasoning, whether it be thyme, sage, rosemary, parsley, lemon pepper. But you can do it, again, your way or do it the way I did it. Okay, so we're at 2 minutes now, so we're going to flip it. And what I'm going to do in between the 3rd minute and the 4th minute is I'm going to take it up on its side and I'm going to render down some of that fat that's along the back side of the steak. Okay, so we're at 3 minutes. What I'm going to do here, so I can get a hold of this bad boy. Oop, little flame. We know we're doing it right. So I'm going to render down that fat on the outside of the ribeye. Now this can be very hot, so be careful. Okay, so at this stage, I pulled the steak out, took out some of that burning oil. I don't want to have too much in there because, again, you don't want to scorch the steak and you don't also want to scorch yourself. So this is where I'm going to come in. I'm going to put about, for me, this is how I like it. I go about a teaspoon of garlic per steak. So if you're doing 2 steaks, 2 teaspoons, etc. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to kind of roast that garlic a little bit until it browns. You don't want to do it for too long because you don't want to burn the garlic either. Then I'm also going to add, whoop, knocking things over. I'm going to add a decent amount of butter. That might be a little too much for 1 steak. Okay. I'm going to get that going. And then I'm going to take my steak back into the side that I had to cook it longer on. Now I've taken the temperature down on this just because it's a gas stove. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this a little bit more than a minute in order to make sure I kind of get to that medium rare. You do kind of have to learn your stove and how the heat transfers. But as I'm cooking that on that side, now I'm going to take about a teaspoon per steak of the seasoning that I had done. So you've got your garlic, your butter, and if you've ever watched Gordon Ramsay, you've probably seen this 1,000 times when they're cooking their steaks. And what you're doing is you're helping kind of get a crust on it. Because I will flip the steak again just to do a tiny bit of basting onto that side as well. Just so I can make sure that that butter and garlic and season gets onto that steak. So we're going to take the steak. So I'm just going to put this pan over the top, and what we're doing is we're letting the steak rest, and that helps hold those juices in, so when you cut it, it doesn't bleed all over the plate. So now we're back at the stove with all the goodness that was still in the pan. Okay, get this down to, I got this on a definitely low to medium-ish range, so it is bubbling but not crazy. And I used the Trader Joe's roasted potatoes. And this comes with peppers and onions, so it has a great flavor in it. And I use the Trader Joe's French green beans. And the great thing about this is I will just put them in together. So for each person on the green beans, I found it's about a handful on the green beans. Okay? And on the roasted potatoes, about, I'd say for 2 people, about half a bag to 3/4 of a bag, depending on if you like a lot, then put more, and if you don't, put less. So you take that mix, get that cooking, and you want to get that kind of a point where it's just about, not burnt, but you can tell that it's getting a little crispy-ish. You know what? We had our first cocktails. Cheers. But we need to get ready for the romantic time when you sit down at the table with your meal. So we're going to do another cocktail using a little bit of champagne. We're almost ready. Steak's resting. Potatoes and green beans are almost done. So we're going to go ahead and get the cocktail ready. What this one is going to be 6 mint leaves. Trader Joe's again. Great, fresh mint, which is fantastic. Now, and we're going to do some simple syrup. We're going to go about, let's see, what does it say here? About 3/4 ounce, which is about 1.5 tablespoons of simple syrup. Now, simple syrup is simple. As if you watched our last video, you may have learned that it's a 1-to-1 recipe. So I made this in a mason jar, just 1 cup of sugar, white sugar, 1 cup of hot water. Just shake it until it dilutes, put it in your refrigerator, and then you've got simple syrup for all kinds of different cocktails and such. So, okay. Now, a lot of times you'll see bartenders doing this. The reason they do this is so it doesn't just kind of flush. But obviously, mint leaves and sugar, like I just splatted over there because I was looking. Let's see, what is it, about 3/4 ounce of lime juice. I'm going to do it in a measurement, but typically you can kind of just do it to flavor. I'm going to give that. All right, so we're going to muddle the sugar, the simple syrup, the lime, and the mint. Believe it or not, this is not a mojito. This is where we're going to use, and we used this last month, is this aged rum, which is absolutely fantastic. And we are going to put, what did I say? About 1.5 ounces. This is a 1 ounce on one side, 2 ounce on the other. So 1.5 in Scott and Tracy's term is basically 2 ounces. And since we're making 2. Oh, there we go. All right. You do it right around here. Then you're going to add ice.
That's it? That's the ingredients?
That is the ingredients. Oh, it is not the ingredients.
What else?
Good call, Tracy. I forgot the bitters. Okay, break. Can't get the lid open. Teamwork! I forgot a couple of dashes of your aromatic bitters. Often you can find this for old fashions like we did last week. A couple of dashes, and then a couple of dashes since I'm doing 2. And that's the aromatic bitters. And you shake it. What do they say on?
Shake.
You gotta smile. All right. All right. All right. When you're done shaking it, get the top off. Get a little bit of that. A little bit of a mess. That's okay. All right. So the final touch is a little champagne topper, and we top our drink with champagne. And then with toast. Oh, that'd be a Valentine's Day. Okay, so we've got our steak that's been resting for about 5, 6, 7 minutes at the most. You got your potatoes, green beans. And that, my friends, is it. It's really a very simple meal, but it has a lot of flavor, and it's just mouth-watering. And when you add that creme brulee at the end as well, you've got a fantastic meal. All right, so we're going to give this a taste. Tracy, there's a piece for you. Do you want potato and what have you? Or with the potato. Have it with the potato at the same time. Oh, I could eat this all day. Oh, the flavor. Okay, cheers. Cheers, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And for those of you without a Valentine's, that's okay. Make the steak for yourself. It's delicious. Have a couple cocktails. Wait till next year. Otherwise, if you're ready, anytime, any questions, give us a call. If you want this home buying guide, let us know. We'll get it to you. If you need us to come and meet you and talk about buying a home, let us know. Remember to subscribe. Hit the bell for alerts so you can see anytime we have a new video. And thanks for joining us.